Right. Right. So, I guess, would you like to start a little bit about, why did you book this session and how do you know me?
I actually followed you on Quora, and that was like a really long time back. And I loved your writing. I loved your story of how you transitioned and being a working mom. You were still able to prioritize things and your career, and it didn't look to me like that any working mom can sacrifice and not reach their personal goals. So that was something very different story than what generally the Indian story represents, or the major mass crowd represents. And my mom is also like that, so I kind of saw that yeah, my mom never stopped her career, or she did her best, and she obviously even had kids along with that. And seeing that you were able to get very different and diverse roles at very prominent companies, and also that was like something very inspiring to me. And I thought it would be a great way to have a chat with someone who was able to accomplish these things and take some maybe learnings or different perspective on situations. So that was my idea, and I saw the opportunity, and I thought that the best way to do is talk to somebody in person and just put the face to the name. It's like I have read your story, etc., but you don't know me.
Right.
So that was the kind of introduction. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your kind words, Melissa. And yeah, I did, th think of taking, some career guidance sessions. And yeah, I also appreciate, the courage to actually reach out and to show up on this call, which a lot of people will never do. So let's start, and maybe would you want to give me some background of, your qualifications, your career background, and maybe you can finish at, what is the challenge that you're currently facing, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that works for me. So I finished my bachelor's around 2015 in computer science in Mumbai. And then from there, since I didn't like coding much and programming, I decided to take something in finance. And I started working for JP Morgan. Was able to do different types of roles, but obviously in the banking sector. One was a project analyst, other as a researcher, and other as an investment banker. But those were all back office roles, nothing to do with like dealing directly with the client or anything which is with complete senior people. So that was limiting my exposure or personality growth, I would say. And then I decided during the pandemic, it was like a good self check that to see where we are going, and to check my priorities and how my life is moving. And I thought I need to take a step, and I decided to pursue my master's. And I got a good opportunity to pursue my master's in France. So I finished my master's last year December, and it started in September 2021 till December 2022 in business consulting and digital transformation. And I got the idea of doing this master is from my work at JP Morgan. I liked the project management role, but since it was not defined in terms of I didn't have certifications or I didn't have proper academic learning, I could not maybe project that to the employers. So I thought this would be a good way to, and also it can be client facing, because if it's consulting you have to be talking to the clients, etc. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
these can be like a good combination, and I did that degree. And the challenge what I'm facing now is firstly is the approach for the European market. And the point what happens is that first they look at whether you are able to speak fluently their language or no.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm not able to speak fluently French, I
Mm-hmm.
to an extent it limits my opportunities. In fact, any European country, they prefer someone who speaks bilingual than someone who is still at the beginner stages and finding difficulty to communicate in their native language. And secondly, it's obviously the visa sponsorships comes how much they are open to the idea of sponsoring. And
Mm-hmm.
thirdly is that is maybe how do I do in interviews, since we don't get feedback, don't understand whether oh I'm applying correctly or what is going wrong with my job search, that I'm not able to at least attract a lot of interviews. So now I'm lost at that phase where I don't know that which should be my path. Should I just keep on focusing on applying to different different companies all over Europe, or should I focus on building networking? But I feel since I'm just starting to network, it will take some time to hold a base. So I watched a lot of webinars and everything. I watched a lot of webinars and all of that, and still I was not able to understand how do I approach someone and they don't feel that I am just taking their time and are okay to help me, and in return maybe just buy them a coffee or anything. I don't know how good that idea works because I've never done it. And how is the
Mhm.
email reaching out? So I'm just still on those lines. I feel networking is the best way, but I think it takes some time and investment to reach and to get it. So I'm kind of like shuffling between these two options. So yeah, I don't know
Got
if I
it.
was able to say. Yeah.
Right, got it. So, so Melissa, just kind of summing up your story to just see that we are on the same page and I got it right. So, you finished your bachelor's in 2015 in computer science. You studied from Mumbai, and then you worked for JP Morgan for like 5, 6 years. All of this was
Yeah,
in
yeah, 6 years.
JP Morgan. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah,
right. So,
yeah, it was the same for me.
and then while working with JP Morgan, you experienced various roles like a project analyst, like an investment banker. All of these were back-end roles. You wanted to be more into client-facing roles, and during COVID, you thought it would be a good opportunity to expand your, academic qualifications. So you went to pursue masters, and you were hoping that it would lead to a job in business consulting. So that certification,
Yeah, or
you
maybe
thought.
in something as a, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you thought it would help, but now you're facing challenges to land a job in the European market. With France specifically, the challenge is the language. And your another question is around, is visa sponsorship a challenge that you are not aware of? Like, is that a big hindrance? And third is, you're not able to attract a lot of interviews. So how do we go about it? So, I'm not sure if we will be able to answer all three of them in the time, but let's start, and
Yeah,
let's go one by
we
one.
just a very
So,
short in time.
yeah. So, so Melissa, what do you think is the biggest reason that you are not attracting the interviews? You yourself shortlisted some reasons. So, you talked about networking, you talked about visa, you talked about the language challenge, you also talked about the companies, how your interview process is going and how you're applying. What do you think is the single most biggest challenge?
So I would say that it is probably you don't know what you're doing. It's like I don't know if I should be applying based on my masters because I don't have any experience, and or based on my experience which I actually worked for, because they are two different sectors altogether, and I don't have formal education in the areas where I was working. So there, when I feel, that's my perspective, that maybe when someone looks at my profile, it looks like there's a transition. So I would need someone who's willing to take a chance on me for this new transition without me
Right,
having a background on it.
right. So,
That's
so
what I
Melissa.
think. I'm not associated.
Right. So let me offer my perspective. The worry that, if you should be applying basis your master's or your corporate experience, because it feels like a shift and nothing completely aligns with your education and the field you are looking into. That is not a challenge to any person reviewing your resume. It is, I think it is like you're not even the secondary, it's a tertiary thing, because all of it, when I heard it, feels very aligned. I mean, people will never have a one-on-one mapping of their academics with their job, past or future. It would always be something related. So, you studied engineering, which most of the people do. Then you worked with a bank. Then you are into business. What was that? Business consulting. Is that right? Did you pursue masters in business consulting?
Yeah, and digital transformation. Yeah.
Right. So this is also a related field, and where you're applying, I'm thinking they would also be, similar sort of companies, even if not, the kind of role would be aligned somewhere. So that is not the real challenge here. Um, do you want to make a second guess? What could be other problem that might hinder you getting interviews?
Maybe I'm applying to wrong roles or maybe wrong job titles. That is the thing only I can think of.
What are the kind of roles that you're applying to? Can you give me some examples?
So, yeah, so I'm applying for project management, PMO roles, then for obviously consultant roles, then maybe strategy consultant, and then as a research or project analyst and a business analyst, because all fall kind of in the same
Mm-hmm.
in and around in the field. These are
Hmm.
the roles I'm applying.
And this is also sort of similar profile in which you have worked, right? Business analyst, you mentioned, investment banking. I'm sure project management would have been a part of it as well, right?
Y- yeah, it was a part of it, but not completely defined as that would be my core functionality, no. But it was definitely a part of it, and I have an idea of what is happening over there. So yeah.
Right. So chances are, your resume is reflecting those. If not, then maybe that is one thing to check if it is talking ample about the kind of projects you worked in. If you're applying for project management, I would assume that your resume would have more project management examples. When you're applying for analyst roles, your resume should have more of those examples. So I am thinking the kind of roles you're applying to is also okay. Um, that I don't see as a challenge. Do you want to make another guess? What could be the another problem for not getting the interviews? And then I'll offer my perspective. I do have one.
No, is it a referral or finding the right people to refer me or something? I don't know because I can't think of any. I thought my issues lied in whatever I described to you. So, what would be your take on it?
Right. So, Melissa, have you thought about how different it looks getting a job in India versus in European market?
I no,
Like
I've not
if
really
you
thought about it.
like if you were to have similar degrees and similar experience and you were to look for a job in India, would that be equally tough versus looking for a job in Europe and let's say France as an example?
No, I would say to not be equally tough because in India there is a lot of familiarity with everything, and over there it's obviously a foreign market, and you're an immigrant. You're not you don't have the nationality of that country. So I think first it would be the cultural of how
Hmm.
accepting they are. So ideal typical French companies would not accept someone who completely doesn't know because it is very hard to blend in the culture. From what I was trying to understand, because I worked for 6 months as in my internship in a French company, and then the challenge was to communicate. That was my very sharp observe. It's like the job role comes later, but you should be able to communicate yourself with your colleagues, with your teammates, and that's when you can express. And at least I found that as a challenging part. So right now my focus is to find international teams and then obviously get better with the language and move to more core teams. So that's what I'm looking at right now.
Right. So do you think that could be the primary problem
Yeah,
um,
maybe.
for people to shortlist you in those companies?
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to be very intentional when I'm apply to international companies because they are open to hiring people from different nationalities and okay with you knowing just one language and not so proficient in the other language.
Right. So that is what their job descriptions or their websites would say because they are required to say this, like that they are an equal opportunity employer and they do not differentiate. So that is something which is required. But you mentioned about your observation of language, and I'm sure there would be another observation when you were working as an intern. Like how many
Yeah.
people did you actually find? How much diversity did you actually find there? So I'm not sure what is your observation like, but if there were not a lot of people, let's say from Indian diaspora, in French companies, then that speaks something to you about their openness to hiring. You also talked about visa sponsorship, and given the current market, when companies are actually firing, visa sponsorship is I don't think it's going to be an easy game to come by. It's a far-fetched
Yeah,
thing, really, and they have to sponsor a visa. And I stayed in US for a while after my education, and trust me, even in the times when times were good, like when the macroeconomic conditions were not these bad, companies are really reluctant to sponsor someone for a visa unless you have some very specialized skill set. Not sure if you have observed, but that is not a very different sort of observation, like something that you can make in day-to-day life. Um, do you think there could be let me ask you this question on a scale of 1 to 10, how adamant you are to find a job in Europe versus in India, with the 10 being in India and 1 being in Europe?
I would say Europe because I've worked in India and I don't see my life or the matching myself with the culture here. I absolutely like their work-life balance, and that is somewhere I see myself building my life, and not here. I was very clear. I was like, I have no option. I will need to find some ways on how I can get through this
Right.
if I'm
But do,
in
mhm,
very fair terms.
right. But do you see, how time has changed from COVID till you're passing out, and very currently, like this month, for example, and how do you think like things are outside of your control for once? Like, for example, language.
Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's outside of my control. But then I have seen, if I'll be very fair, I've seen people also getting jobs and they being in India and getting hired for sponsorship. Like for France, I don't need sponsorships because I have my master's there. So I have visas that support me. But for other countries, I would need sponsorships. So I have seen people also without a language getting, but it's just like they took some time to
Hmm.
find that opportunity because it's like there are too many people looking for that opportunity. It was that kind of a thing. So I feel this may just take some time, but it should be happening because otherwise they would not ask people to come and study in Europe. They will not be advertising if there is something not for others. So I think in all fairness that can be a possibility.
Hmm. 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 Right. So, I mean, it could be a possibility, and if you want some piece of advice on how to go about interviews or how to do networking, um, we can do that. Probably not now. Maybe at a later time. But right now, I feel that things are pretty challenging. And can you give me an example of the people who you mentioned who got these jobs, and even in France, what kind of jobs did they get? Because some fields are there in which just there are a lot more openings, like engineering roles, and they are also present in all the companies. So chances are that it is rather comparatively easier to land those jobs versus when the job is more about communication, because that's where we have a lower playground when it comes to communicating there in their language.
So my friends who got jobs, they were able to find companies where the market they cater to the international market. Like my friend found a role as a senior manager without speaking the language is because the market he got was Asia, European, and US.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't really needed to know the language, but he could do without it for
Right.
his
And
functionality. And then the other friends who were in as a product analyst and all of that, they too got without speaking the language, but
mm-hmm.
obviously they're working again for an international firm. So it's like there were examples, but it just like it took
Yeah.
time for them to land there. That was the thing. So
How much
I
time?
wanted to more focus on. So I think 4 5 months. So and for me, I was wanted to focus more on how to get through referral, because not all the opportunities on LinkedIn and Indeed and
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle are all known, but sometimes it's through networking before it's even posted. If I can tap through those places and show myself, oh, I'm there. If you have something like these roles around your circle and you could refer me, that process would just cut the whole chase of me applying online, then they checking the website, getting to me. I would just reach faster there. At this point, I think this is the most faster way for me to get anywhere. It's like
Right.
if there is an opportunity in the circle and I know it before it is outside in the world, that looks like a best case scenario at this point, but I just don't know what will work.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
That definitely
trying
is the best case.
there.
Would it be possible to make a start from, the people who have got these jobs? Maybe, start touching base with those and your batchmates or people. There is some noise. Go on. You were saying something.
Yeah, that's a, like now noise has just like a little bit increased. Yeah, actually I'm doing that only, but now I'm approaching strangers because the people whom I know already know I'm looking at it, and they said they will reach out to me when they have anything. And in 15 days once I keep checking on them, asking if they know of anything like that, and if they come across something, they just tell me that okay, have a look here. So I have those,
Right.
but I thought then I know 10, but I'd rather try and find ways to reach out to more people, and you just never know what an opportunity can come.
Right.
Because I'm
So,
anyways
Melissa,
applying, so I'll rather even try this.
right. So, Melissa, I think the process you are following looks all right. You had concerns around the kind of roles you are applying to. I would say that your roles are, spread across two, three designations. So, try to make sure that you customize your resume to each of these openings. Maybe pick some keywords from the job description itself. So, that would be one tip. Another is be patient with the job search process because it takes time, as you have seen. I would give it anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and it's also the international market, so that would be challenging. If you feel that barriers like language and visa sponsorship are not such big hurdles, and you have seen people overcoming those, then maybe there are things which you can control and influence. Networking is, your known network is always limited, so um, uh, try reaching out to people on LinkedIn, unfamiliar. There is a lot of rejection there. Rejection as in you would reach out to, let's say, 20 people and you would hear from one. So it's in that ratio always, 40 people, two responses. And then even those two wouldn't mean that they are inviting you for an interview. It would just be, like, yeah, okay, I'll keep you posted or whatever. But, this is a very draining process. But I would say set up some time for it. Let's say like an hour each day when you just spend on LinkedIn to reach out to people, Indian or otherwise, or you find those openings. I have given an example of how to write a note on one of my core answers. Try to mention that job opening as well. Talking about internal referrals, if they are in the company, this is how you find them. Like, you just reach out to people, try to look for people who are in the same profile as the one you want. So if you want to be a product analyst, let's say there would be a senior, there would be like a staff, there would be a principal, there would be a manager. Try to target all of these people in the hierarchy, even till the director level or maybe VP. So we just craft a standard template, and it's more about quantity, like how many you reach out to, because there's a lot of rejection and just no responses. So continue doing that. Don't lose faith and hope ki it is not working, because there are no set ways which work. It's always a chaotic process. So continue doing that. I mean, if you want to do it from here, fine. If you want to do it from after moving back, that is also fine. I think role wise you are doing fine. And the good thing is also that you have a lot of roles outlined for yourself. So you are looking for business analyst, you are looking for project management, you're looking for consultant. it is always good to have a lot of roles because that just increases, the number of positions out there for you. Um, I
I
guess,
wanted your one quick opinion. Do you think it makes sense having a LinkedIn premium to reach out to people or to have to be noticed a lot? Because I never had an premium account, so I was just wondering if it would make sense to have a premium account which
I think there is some internet issue at one of us, and your video got stuck. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. If you can hear me, you are kind of frozen for me. I cannot hear you. But it does make sense to get a LinkedIn Premium on a trial basis. Maybe you can try from anywhere from 1 month to 3 months because it gives you the capacity to send in mails. So you can write more detailed emails. You can even attach your resume in those in God. Hey, Melissa, I think there was some connectivity issue, but to answer your question, it does help to have an email account, maybe on a trial basis for a short period of time, because it gives you the flexibility to send in-mails. And in-mails are nothing but they are like emails, so you can have more lengthier text responses. You can attach your resume as well. So it does help to have a premium for like a month or so to start with.
Yeah, I think I will do that. I was like, let me try. If I'm trying all methods, let me just try all methods.
Yeah,
So
you can
whatever works
totally try this. Also, like when you go to these profiles, try to look for their contact info. Sometimes they have their emails mentioned there, so you can also just directly email them.
works.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
When you go to
that's a good thing to know. I didn't really think. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. In their profile, there is something as more option. There's a chances that I can have an email ID, and then it would be faster to reach out to them.
yeah, there is a drop down which not everyone mentions it, but some people do, and it would be just a faster way. Yeah, I think we have to close this out.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
But
thank you so much.
but yeah, this video
Nice
is
talking to
breaking.
you.
This video is breaking, Melissa. But I would ask you to drop a little feedback on the Instagram, mentioning whatever helped you today. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.